What's up, guys? I'm Hunter.
I'm Alec T.
And today we're going to be talking about our 5 favorite fights in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball is one of those awesome stories that was told many years ago and is still being told to this day, brought up by Akira Toriyama. It's considered to be one of the greatest animes ever written, and it's pretty much showcased a lot of great things that today's animes are showing, like the rival and the hero, such as Goku Vegeta, has been brought into different animes like Naruto, Toriko, and even One Piece.
It's grown up with me just as much as I've grown up with it. I mean, we got it a little later than everybody else, but it's been a part of my life since I can remember. I call my grandparents Little Bobo and Big Bobo, because whenever my uncle introduced me to Dragon Ball Z when I was a really little baby, I couldn't pronounce Popo, so that's why I called them Little and Big Bobo. Just a fun fact. But this is our basically top 10 broken in down, split in half, 5 from him, 5 from me, our favorite fights. Just talking to you guys about some of the things we really like about Dragon Ball Z, and one of the biggest things about Dragon Ball is its huge fights, its crazy cinematics, and we're just going to start off from here.
It's also got a great storytelling, and it's just continued to get better because we both grew up with it.
It's really stood the test of time, and I really think that my kids are going to know about Dragon Ball Z, their kids are going to know about it, and so on and so forth until the sun decides to blow up and everything created here just doesn't matter no more. But until then, who cares? Dragon Ball. Alright, I'll go first. My 5th one will have to be Zarbon. Zarbon versus Vegeta. Everybody's going, why is your 5th favorite fight Zarbon and Vegeta? There's so many other fights you could have put right here. But right here you really see Vegeta's true depth of filthiness, his savagery. He will stick his hand through you and blast a beam through you at the same time. He doesn't give a fuck. And this is the same time that you realize that Vegeta and all the other Saiyans, after they've been beaten down, pushed through the ground, they will come back stronger than ever. And this is where you first really see that kind of action, and this is where all that kind of comes true. So it's just not this kind of thing that's unexplained. It really is explained. It is a little out of the ordinary. It's a weird plot device, but it's actually explained right here in this fight, and that's what I like the most about it.
Number 5 favorite fight is Gotenks versus Buu. I chose Gotenks versus Buu for this one because the fight is awesome. However, it doesn't excuse the fact that Goten and Trunks treat this universe-style destroyer as nothing but a kid's game. It might be from the fact that their Saiyan blood just makes them not want to try hard unless the enemy's trying hard, but still, they believe that this creature destroyed their brother and father, and they saw this creature actually kill Goten's mom. So you'd think they'd be trying a lot harder. But the fight is still pretty cool. It introduced the second Super Saiyan 3 in all of Dragon Ball. And still, it's a badass fight. I enjoyed it. And that 30 minutes of their fusion from both inside and outside the time chamber, it's going to be a long memory that I can remember from days on end. And it just shows that even the smallest warrior can throw the strongest punch.
Number 4 will have to be Trunks versus Frieza. This is kind of a personal one, along with one of the other ones that's going to be in here, because personally, just to gush about my background, my story, I didn't have cable. My parents weren't able to pay for cable, so my grandma, she would videotape Dragon Ball Z tapes and send them to me through the mail. And some of the fights that I'd have, I would watch over and over and over again. That's why I can recite Goku turning Super Saiyan for the first time. But that's another fucking point to the side. But my 4th favorite fight will have to be Trunks versus Frieza, because it's the introduction of Trunks. I remember seeing in that tape, she would record the whole Cartoon Network day that was, and you would see the commercial for Trunks, and he'd pull out his sword, he'd look badass, and he'd stand there. He catches the supernova like it's nothing. And before that, whenever you were watching the fight with Goku and Frieza, you were thinking, man, Frieza is this force to be fucked with, like, who can beat him? And then you find out that this guy that comes out of nowhere can just show up and, you know, really stand his own with him. Frieza doesn't even compare to Trunks, really. And that's just why that's my 4th favorite fight. Boom.
My number 4 is Goku versus Tien. I'm going to go with the first one when Goku was only 15 years old in the 22nd World Tournament. This fight between the two of them is a pinnacle of badassery in Dragon Ball. Awesome moves and techniques, and holy shit, Tien blew up the fucking ring. That arena had to be decided in the air, and the only reason Goku lost is because a truck got in his way. You see a lot of moves, and you see more blasts out of this part of the show than you do in earlier facts. For the longest time, we thought the only technique to be used in a style of a wave was the Kamehameha wave. And yes, true, there was an earlier part of the series where we see Mercenary Tao use the Dodon Ray, but it was only one time, maybe twice. But other than that, we don't usually see anything like that until Tien and Chaozu pop up. Chaozu even tries to cheat, and Tien gets pissed off, and it just shows how much of a good character Tien is. He doesn't want to win his victories by cheating. And I really enjoyed this fight because it really showed Goku actually becoming a lot stronger. Yeah, he held his own and got second place before, but that was with his own master, and yet even then he hardly said it. He could barely keep up with his master, even though he was kicking ass. But this fight really showed that he had matured and was ready to go off on his own and train by himself and come into his own as a true warrior.
That's a good point right there. My number 3 will have to be Trunks versus Cell. Again, this is another personal thing. You can tell I'm a Trunks fanboy, you know, whatever. But this is another one of those tapes that I had to rewatch over and over again. And here you actually find out that Vegeta isn't this arrogant bastard that just goes into fights not knowing anything. And you may be wondering, how will I know that through a Trunks fight? But in the Trunks fight, in the back scenes where Goku and Gohan are training, Goku, he's explaining you can't be this like bulky, muscly person if you're gonna fight somebody like Cell. You gotta be fast, you gotta be powerful and fast. And what Trunks fails to realize, he just wants all the power he can get. So through fighting Cell, he's able to realize his father isn't just this asshole that fights for no reason. He actually has very strategic plays in his fighting abilities, and that's just what I like about it. And plus, you see Trunks' backstory through it, a lot of cool lightning and thunder going on. It's just a really cool fight to me. And Trunks looks like Broly too. Boom. One was messing around.
My number 3 is going to be Goku versus Frieza. Now, before you crucify me, hear me out. Yes, this fight introduced the first Super Saiyan ever in the Dragon Ball series, and it was awesome. Yes, Frieza was an unstoppable force of nature, walking through his opponents, just completely showing off the fact that he was continuing to transform like it was never ending. But the fight's 4 fucking hours long, and 2 of those hours take place in 5 minutes. And yes, we do see a lot of badass things that go on. And I think one of the major flaws for this one, for me, even though it was still cool, was Frieza takes himself out. And I thought, dumbass. But other than that, this fight is really awesome. I enjoy watching this fight, but it's hard for me to sit down and watch the full 4 hours because there are videos on YouTube where people take the full 4 hours and just break them the full 4 hours and it's just one long video, and it's hard for me to watch because it's so long. And it's still done very, very, very well, but if it was just a little shorter, by about an hour and a half, maybe 2, I could sit down and watch this and move this way up, maybe at number 2. But number 1, it's always going to be my number 1, even if Goku versus Frieza was shorter. That fight's always going to be my number 1, and you'll hear it soon.
My number 2 will have to be Goku versus King Piccolo, Demon King Piccolo. So basically, why I like this fight so much is because growing up, I really liked Bruce Lee movies. And in Bruce Lee movies, you'd see Bruce Lee taking on all the henchmen before he gets to the big boss. No pun intended. But when he gets there, he really does have trouble fighting, and that's what Goku had. He had his body all wrecked, you know, he kept on blasting his joints, he couldn't move. And so Goku delivers that final blow, and that moment where the scene kind of flickers and you hear that scream while he's going through King Piccolo at the same time. I will never, ever witness the same feeling that I had hearing that, watching that. I mean, even talking about it, I have goosebumps right now. It's crazy. That's my number 2.
My number 2 is Goku versus Piccolo in the tournament. I consider this to be the best fight of Dragon Ball. It's pretty good since it's the last one of Dragon Ball as well. Piccolo and Goku are just going through everything. They're tearing up everything. They have this will to fight and win. Neither is giving up. They're not giving an inch. And this ends up taking a toll on not only themselves, but the whole fucking island as well. The island is all but empty. Everybody's left. The tournament's gone. All that's left is like just a little outer shell of the tournament ring. Goku's beaten badly. He's got a hole through his chest, and Piccolo is even bruised himself. The only way Goku could win is by shooting out as much ounce of strength as he had left into one final headbutt into knocking Piccolo out of the ring. This fight is by far the coolest fight of Dragon Ball in my opinion. And I would just watch it every single time I had Dragon Ball on. And it was also cool to see Goku basically as we see him nowadays, not his young 12 to 15-year-old self, but his 18-year-old self that people who grew up watching Dragon Ball Z first will remember. The voice, the way he looked and everything. That's what we all remember, and that was the nice little touch of showing us what we were coming to see when Dragon Ball Z came to be.
My favorite fight, the expected, the cliche, the fight of the century, Goku versus Vegeta. The all-time biggest brawl that you would ever expect from two Saiyans. The first fight in the desert. That is the bloodiest, the brutalest. If you watch the uncut version, Vegeta knees Goku when he's trying to touch his son. That intimate moment that you're like, oh, father-son moment. Vegeta says, fuck your father-son moment. And that's where I'm just like, Vegeta is this force to be reckoned with. And that's really where Goku shows his personality for the first time. Any other fight, you can watch it. Goku doesn't spare anybody. I mean, he just fights for fun. But in the serious battles like that, he doesn't spare jack shit. Other than Nappa, he lets Nappa go, but that is a whole nother story of its own. And fucking, before that, that's what I said. Before that fight, King Piccolo wrecked through that nigga. Piccolo, he had to pretty much headbutt him. I'm pretty sure if he hadn't, he probably would have gone all the way out, because he was going all the way out. That's all he could do. But before that, you know, Tangerine from the West Wing, he blasted that guy into smithereens. And this is really where Goku kind of developed that sense of everything can change. Like, he's not about vengeance, it's about honor, it's about being the bigger person. And that's just why I love this fight. It has so much character, so much love. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball.
Alright, and my number 1, Gohan versus Cell. This will always be my favorite fight. Even if Dragon Ball Super can bring up a fight that anybody else can think is better than anything in Dragon Ball Z. Sorry, but Gohan versus Cell is the greatest fight for me ever. It's really an awesome fight because it feels like Gohan is a taller version of his father when he was his age. Not only that, but this is also the introduction to the first ever perfect Super Saiyan 2. And Gohan just shows how much power he has when he walks through everybody. The Cell Juniors and Cell himself don't stand a chance against Gohan. But again, with Gotenks and Boo, it just feels like Gohan is teasing Cell. But he has a reason for doing so. He does it because he wants Cell to suffer more for all the pain he's caused, whereas Gotenks is trying to do it because he wants glory. And it just really shows that Gohan, he is his father's son. He cares about life, and he doesn't want to awaken his sleeping rage and power. So, when 16's head gets crushed, you see probably the greatest transformation scene for me in Dragon Ball Z ever.
Let go.
When Gohan's rage snaps, he unleashes the unstoppable force of nature. And, come on, who can say they can punch something so hard that they turn to dust? Gohan has been showing a lot of power, and this is finally something we were able to see. We've seen snippets of this power all through the series, when he fought his uncle, when he fought Nappa and Vegeta, and even when he fought the Ginyu Force and even Frieza. Gohan's shown this powerful rage, this hidden potential that he's had inside his body ever since he was an infant. This fight, to me, every time I watch it, it gives me goosebumps. And if you guys enjoy this show as much as we do, you'll love this fight as much as I do. If not, it's fair enough. Everybody has their own opinions. But my number one will always be Gohan versus Cell. And those guys, those are our top 5 each. You guys want to see more of this stuff? Just click the like and subscribe button. Comment if you want to see us do a top 10 for anything else. Top 5s each. If you want to do a singular top 10s, we can do that too. But as you can see, we thoroughly enjoy Dragon Ball, the series, and we will always love this show. We grew up with it. It's one of our favorite shows of all time, and it's what really gets people started into anime.
And actually, leave your favorite fights down below. We'd really like to know. And that's really what bonds all of us Dragon Ball fans together. Because when you're a little kid watching this, the story doesn't compel you, let's be honest. It's the fucking fights, it's the flashy lights. And so let's all just be little kids down in the comments and gush about the things that we like to see.
Screaming.
It's the
Calm down. You're not gonna go Super Saiyan. You're not Saiyan. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to us for more content. While you're at it, send some love to our buddy Hilbris and I'll put a link into his channel down below. He could use some love. He's one of our close friends, and we really would enjoy you. He enjoys our content. He comes over to make stuff with us, so we'd be happy if you send him some love, comment on some of his stuff, give him some likes on his videos, and remember, we might be saints, but we're also savages.